Alright, just before we start the video, I wanted to say this video is going to be weird. Probably restarted a few times because every time I've tried to publish it, the developers of Broken Arrow have dropped yet another bombshell. A nuclear bomb, which by the way is coming soon too. But yes, in addition to the beta that, well, I'll talk about in a little bit, that's coming out very soon for everybody for free, the developers have now dropped even more news about the game and the beta that's coming soon, with War Goals being a new game mode and also matchmaking improvements, and then some things about Quick Match, and then also some things about the contacts and leaderboards and custom matches. And there's also multiplayer and co-op scenarios too that are coming to this beta and also the full game. So just keep in mind that even after making this video and getting ready to drop it, the devs have dropped another big update. So there is an update, to the beta, to the news, to the update. So just pay attention to this video as best you can. I know there's going to be a lot of confusing things here. I'll try to keep it clear and concise, but there's an incredible amount of info on this game, and it seems like it's going to be a real good one. So hang in there. Let's start the video. Here we go. Well, hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and some big news about one of the most anticipated modern real-time strategy games of perhaps all time. Yes, Broken Arrow. That game, well, it has some big news. Welcome back, and good to see you all here for yet another update. Although it's been a while, there's certainly been a non-stop, absolute flow of information about this game on new units and new vehicles and new features and things that they've been adding ever since their announcement of a delay until hopefully sometime next year in 2025. But big news for all of you who've missed it here on the channel and who've been wanting to play a lot more of this game. Yes, it is confirmed 100% that there is a new open beta for everyone starting on Tuesday, November 12th. That means you can jump on Steam and download this game and try it out. The developers will be adding a lot of new things, including 8 new maps, and we'll be seeing new sub-factions between the United States and Russia, and maybe some never-before-seen things before. So, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit that like button, and thank you very much for leaving your comments on your thoughts today for today's video, where we're going to go a little bit more in depth about my thoughts on Broken Arrow, the delay, the eventual release, the upcoming beta, and all the news that, well, has been dropping left and right since our last video. Let's go. Okay, now after everyone's calmed down a little bit, I want to answer some questions here on how to get into the open beta. Open beta means that this is open for everyone. You don't have to buy the game, you don't have to pre-order, you don't have to do anything other than jump on Steam and go to Broken Arrow's store page, and then somewhere below the initial images and videos for the game, you should see a button that says request access or play beta or download demo. The wording might be different depending on what they choose, but there's a big old green rectangular button. You hit that, and then you should be able to be granted access to it sometime around the 12th, and then you should be able to download the game and then get in. Now, of course, servers are a little different. Just because you've got access to the game doesn't mean everyone's going to get in. This game has previously had trouble with tons of people wanting to get in, and they've been able to, it's actually a good thing, been able to stress test how many people have been wanting to play it and how their servers versus other servers might be able to work together across the world to get everyone to play together. So access is not guaranteed just because you've downloaded it, and you may have to wait a long time in lobbies. Now, good news, I and many other people that I know in our community will be hosting games, so hopefully we'll all be able to get into you know, some 4v4s or 3v3s or whatever the case may be for these new maps, and it's kind of a first come first served basis. But the game, at least through the program of launching it up and sitting on the splash screen, if you're not able to connect to a game, will allow you to look at all the insane amount of units that it has for pretty much all the factions, at least a lot of the new stuff, which is, there's not even enough time in this video or 5 more to showcase all the things coming. I will cover most of them, or at least touch on a few of the broader topics. But yeah, even if you don't get into a game, the insanity of the well, I guess the armory or the deck creator or whatever you would like to call it, there's an immense amount of stuff to learn, from all the different infantry to vehicles to their weapons, and also customization in this game too. Yes, you can take like a US Humvee and put different weapon systems on it, from a minigun to a tow to even just a, you know, heavy machine gun. So there's certainly a lot of things to see and toy around with. Now, one thing I'm hoping that the devs do here, hold on, cross your fingers. Yeah, I'm hoping they bring back a multiplayer mission that we've maybe seen a million times before, or include a new one for when there's outages for the beta. me and other people want to stream this, but it's no fun and not really reassuring to a lot of people to see the servers down. But I'm really hoping that we're not going to, and this is my dream best case scenario, we're going to all be able to get into the beta. We're all going to download it easily from Steam. Everyone's going to jump in. It's going to be a ton of games, no real lag or disconnection issues, and we're all going to have a really good time. And I hope that if there are issues, the developers, as I believe they've done before, extend the beta period longer so more people have access to do this. Now, I'm looking around for when the beta may end, and it seems like it might be a thing that will last a week, maybe even 2. I'm not seeing a date yet, but I really hope it's something that they continue to keep going for a while, because it's been a while since we've seen this one. Now, let's talk more about the game itself. All right, now some facts about the maps for Broken Arrow's beta on the 12th, remember. So they're adding 8 new maps, of which there's going to be a mix of both industrial, urban, and kind of marshy areas. And there's also, of course, going to be the 2 new factions. We'll go over that in a little bit, but the maps themselves seem to be good. And, you know, I think you could describe a map all day, but until you play it a bunch, you kind of don't really get a feel for it. And each of the tactics that are deployed in each of the maps that have already been in past betas, you know, they're all fun based on what the meta is at the time, and people find ways around that. Playing the maps are fun. You really got to find out what the community is going to do, and that just makes it a blast. But 2 of the things that they mentioned in their latest post before a new one that's about to drop, they mentioned that the elevation curves are now they wanted to redo that, and they've redone that, and they do add a little bit more information to it. Additionally, you can also hit the shift key, and a line will be displayed between a unit and the position in which it's moving. So if you're not sure where a unit is going, you could just basically click on it and hit shift, and it'll show you where those units are going. And then there's also those target designation things that show elevation curves. So it's really good to be able to see line of sight, where a unit is moving, and then also what that unit is able to shoot at by looking at its actual stats for its range and line of sight from the unit itself. So pretty cool. This game does feature really good tools to be able to see what a unit can do and what it can see before moving to a position. So very helpful for recon. Those things have been optimized. And also, speaking of optimization, they've increased the fidelity of the graphics. So higher end graphics are even higher end now. They've stepped it up a bit in that department. And they've also increased the amount of lower graphic settings. So people who don't really have the beastly like PC could still play, and people who really care about how the game looks, it's going to look even better. So it's kind of cool that they did that, right? Allowing more players to play, and for those who have bigger PCs or, you know, really want to see the game in the highest fidelity possible and play it like an action movie, when the game comes out and has some really cool cutscenes, it'll be more cinematic that way. So good moves in the right direction. So 8 maps, support of AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution 3, and then the things I mentioned for kind of some tweaks to the units that are really great quality of life things that the community came up with. And so again, when you're playing this, make sure 100% that you do your due diligence, and help the community. I'm doing my part by providing feedback. You can do so, of course, below any of my videos on the channel as the developers check that out. Go into their Discord, tweet them on Twitter, whatever you might want to do. Just reach out to them and tell them your thoughts, good and bad, and provide constructive criticism, and we'll get a better game. Because you never know. I mean, somebody could come up with a great idea, and the community will be all for it, so make sure you do that. All right, now here's where things are going to get a little more crazy. I've re-recorded this part of the video to try to make it clear and concise as to what they've added in previous news, as well as what we just got today, which will be about a day after when you're seeing this one. So the developers are adding coastal troops to the game, as well as, and this is for the beta, with a lot of cool units, BTR 90s and MRUs, and a lot of new infantry that we haven't seen before, and also kind of some returning remixes of vehicles and infantry we have, again with customization too. And remember, new things that we'll talk about in a second about that updated armory, which a lot of people are loving, and it's really fun to be able to toy around with that in order to, you know, make your perfect deck to fight within an actual specialization. So like, you know, a faction within a faction. You can make a few different builds within that. And the other is the U.S. Airborne spec coming as well. So now there's a lot of cool things that are going to overlap, like we're getting more recon units for the U.S. and of course for the Russians too on their coastal defenses. But then of course we have more anti-aircraft units returning. A lot of these units are using the same equipment, but they're just built differently. They may be carried in different carriers, or have different veterancy, or maybe carry different amounts of ammo. So there's a real cool amount of new equipment that, like, it's not a slightly different build. It feels like it's almost like 80% different rather than just 40% different, like something you'd see in Wargame, which is fine too for Wargame or Warno, because those are always using kind of the same rules for balancing, which, by the way, if you have not played Warno, outstanding. New constant updates to the game. Also, of course, Regiments too from Microprose, and as I mentioned too, Wargame getting Italian forces. Those games are still alive and kicking and doing well, and I can't recommend them enough. But let's get into something that might be a little bit more important for the beta, because now it means that these features will be coming to the full game rather than just a couple of new squads or factions that I thought was really cool. This news tops even that. And now, finally, before I ramble on long enough, but I think it's really important, we now have some new confirmed details about the beta, which also confirms some new details about Broken Arrow. At least they're testing it, so it is likely to show up in the final game. We have ourselves a War Goals game mode, which is extremely simple to understand and kind of like a risk mode where you can attack and defend and push forward. And they break it down in their Steam page about basically kind of a more limited battlefield that has you pushing towards specific goals that are worth different points during different phases. That does look like quite a bit of fun. There's matchmaking improvements too, so I think it's a little more skill-based matchmaking, which honestly is great because I want more people to be able to get into RTS games without being intimidated by being well outclassed by everyone else. And single-player missions and single-player campaigns and all the scenarios and other things that they can play PvE or just basically alone are all good. But multiplayer, yeah, it'd be cool if there was more people who were getting into this for the first time, which I think there are, and never have played a game like this before, so hopefully that opens the door to more players. So your ratings will be visible then. That's another thing that they're adding. That's something that we saw in Wargame a lot, which can create problems too. Some of the veterans will only play with like the same people over and over because nobody wants to play with somebody who's a mega pro. And a lot of the people who are new also don't really do the matchmaking as well. But that does go into the next two things, which are invitations and custom matches. So you'll be able to set things up to your liking with friends, and then also add friends, like in your friends list within the game, and then quickly get a game together by inviting everyone you can. So if you got everyone linked together in a Discord, which you're all welcome to use our Discord too to get games together, just make sure you go ahead and do that. But something that really popped out at me was the multiplayer / co-op scenarios. Now, scenario is a layer, as they say here, containing anything that's not the map itself. So multiplayer game mode is a scenario, a campaign mission with a cutscene and dialogues is a scenario, 3 units placed on the map to make a test is a scenario. So they're being very vague with that. That's what they're saying there on Steam, literally. But I'm really hoping that this opens the door to a multiplayer campaign, different multiplayer campaigns, even if they're short, as well as more mission editor stuff that people can toy around with. And that's a lot of fun in Call to Arms, Gates of Hell, Ostfront, and also like Men of War Assault Squad 2, and people have made thousands of crazy mods for those games, primarily focused on World War II, but then also able to make Modern Warfare mods. So if we get modability and map making in this game, this is a great way to blow that door wide open. That is huge, that so many people will be able to play different things together and go beyond just like, being competitive and match. Instead of just playing the campaign to learn and experiencing the story, then going into multiplayer till you get bored, and then picking it up again maybe every so often with updates, this seems to allow people to do a lot, and then they can kind of jump in and out as there's so much to do, and they come back feeling refreshed. That's good. Going back to what we said about the skills and having a more diverse profile, experience medals and profile customization will be there. So kind of entering something a little bit more like Call of Duty with, I got this number of kills and these accomplishments and achievements. That's cool. I don't mind that at all. And it certainly is something for people who want to be completionists to try to grind out different builds. And that is highly encouraged, not to always do the meta, but to do crazy things that wouldn't seem to work. And even if you lose, have a good time. That is the most important thing in these games. And then refining the army builder and rules improvement, and that goes into the armory, right? That's really important to modify some things in the armory to make it more improved for everyone to understand, and to probably one of the most difficult things in this game is not necessarily how to play it, but what the hell to choose and how to remix things in the armory. Everyone who's covered this game probably has a video series of just, almost a damn near hour plus long about here's my recommended build for these scenarios, and you could go on endlessly talking about those. So it is nice that these are going to be a little bit more easily understood by trying to add all these new units slowly over time for people to understand in the beta. And yeah, so we may end up with this game delayed again and again. I'm all for it. The developers delayed it again to 2025. I applaud that. Please continue to take all the time that you need. and you know, be encouraged to release it into early access as well too, because if you release a game, you know, into 2025 that you consider to be a full release, it better be damn good, otherwise people will absolutely eat you alive. And so for a game that has a lot of things to do with balancing and an interesting story, and for people to really want to spend a lot of time in this one, it'd be a huge disappointment for all this hype to go towards a campaign that's lackluster, multiplayer that's not balanced, and like, for example, servers that are just offline constantly on day one. And so I hope they really get this right and take all the time that they need. It's great to see Slytherin supporting all of these wonderful developers. They, of course, have some other games that we've showcased on the channel, like Terminator, Dark Defiance, I think it is, and also Starship Troopers, Terran Command, and then they even made a damn, it's more of like Desperados or kind of like Commandos-esque, but what is it, Timekeepers? Stargate Timekeepers, right. They're making all sorts of games and publishing and helping out, and so I want to see all these games succeed because they're different, and if we don't, we're just going to end up with the same, you know, Ubisoft Octuple A masterpieces, which actually kind of are empty, and nobody wants that. Anyway, that's it for my rambling. Please let me know if you have questions down below, and get Broken Arrow on November 12th when the beta starts, or at least apply right now if you can. Like, if you see it there, just jump over to their Steam page and yeah, absolutely apply. By the time you're seeing this video, there could be new demos, new stuff, so just always check their store page, follow them there, and also Slytherin and also Broken Arrow on Twitter. Okay, bye. Thank you very much for watching.